Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. It was a sunny morning in the bustling city of Los Angeles. The Prestige Motors dealership, renowned for its luxury vehicles and exclusive service, was about to open its doors. The employees, proud to work in this temple of elegance, had no idea that this day would disrupt their routine. Sylvester Stallone, the famous actor and new owner of the dealership, had decided to go undercover. Tired of reports and meetings, he wanted to see firsthand how his employees treated customers, and especially, how they behaved around those who didn't seem like big customers. Dressed simply, sunglasses on, he walked through the doors with a slight smile, taking in every detail. The shiny cars, the immaculate window displays, the staff in perfectly tailored uniforms, everything met his high standards. But what he didn't know was the arrogance of the manager, Brad Thompson, a man accustomed to imposing his authority and judging customers mercilessly. Brad quickly spotted this new client. In his mind, he was a difficult visitor to manage, a pretentious man who allowed himself too many questions and demands. Unaware that he was looking at the real owner, Brad made an impulsive decision that would set off a series of unexpected events. The curtain rose on a day when power, fame and arrogance would collide in the city's most luxurious concession. The quiet ticking of the clock in the dealership lobby echoed through the spacious and luxurious space. Employees busied themselves polishing the gleaming bodywork, adjusting the windows, and preparing brochures for the awaiting customers. The day seemed ordinary, but one special customer would turn everything upside down. Sylvester Stallone walked through the doors, wearing simple jeans and a navy polo shirt. His sunglasses partially obscured his gaze, but he observed every detail with the acuity of a man accustomed to analyzing situations. He approached the counter and politely greeted the receptionist. "Hello, I would like to see the latest models," he said calmly. The employee, impressed but recognizing the man's natural aura of authority, led him to the high-end car section. Meanwhile, Brad Thompson, the dealership manager, appeared in the distance. He watched the man inspecting the vehicles with meticulous attention. "Who is it?" Brad whispered to a colleague. "A customer, I suppose," replied the other. Brad frowned. The man asked too many questions, touched the cars carefully, but examined every detail as if he knew the dealership's inner workings. Brad's arrogance quickly rose. In his mind, this customer seemed pretentious and difficult. Stallone, while remaining discreet, continued to observe the staff. He noted the speed of responses, the politeness or impatience of each person, and the efficiency of the service. He wanted to understand how his dealership really worked, without anyone knowing he was the owner. Brad, unable to contain his frustration, moved closer to the intruder, hands on his hips. "Sir, I think you've looked long enough. If you're not serious, I'll ask you to leave." Stallone raised an eyebrow, his composure unshaken. He gave a small smile and replied gently. "I'm interested in these models. I just thought I could take a closer look at them." Brad, irritated by this calm tone and familiarity that he interpreted as disrespect, gritted his teeth. In his mind, there was only one solution. And so one of the world's most famous and powerful clients was about to face the arrogance of a man who didn't know who he was dealing with. Brad Thompson, the dealership manager, couldn't let what he considered insolence go unchallenged. The man in front of him seemed to know every detail of the vehicles, asking specific questions about the engine, trim, and options, as if judging the work of his employees. In Brad's mind, it was too much. "Listen to me," he said authoritatively, "you don't seem serious. If you're not going to buy today, you'd better leave the dealership." Stallone remained calm. He crossed his arms, gave a small smile, and replied. "I'll take note of your advice, but I'd rather keep watching. I just want to make sure I'm making an informed choice." The employees around him exchanged uncomfortable glances. Some noted the man's natural elegance and poise, but no one dared to intervene. Brad, on the other hand, was determined to show his authority. "I told you to leave," he exclaimed, red with anger. Stallone took a step back, almost in respect, but his gaze never left Brad. His voice, calm but firm, echoed through the hall. "Very well. If you wish, I'll leave." Without waiting for an answer, Stallone slowly walked toward the exit, leaving a palpable tension behind him. The customers present that day watched him leave, some wondering why such a polite customer was being treated so abruptly. Behind the window, Brad was breathing heavily, satisfied with his authority. He had no idea he had just evicted the owner of the dealership, the man he should have respected more than anyone. This simple misunderstanding would soon turn into a memorable lesson, not only for Brad, but for everyone at Prestige Motors. A lesson about humility, respect, and true power that isn't measured by appearances. The next morning, Prestige Motors looked ordinary to passers-by, but inside, the atmosphere was tense. Brad Thompson, still proud of his decision the day before, had no idea that the real lesson was about to come. Sylvester Stallone entered, but this time he wasn't wearing his discreet disguise. Elegantly dressed, he walked with a natural confidence that commanded respect. The surprised employees watched him silently, finally recognizing the famous face of the man they had perhaps underestimated the day before. "Hello everyone," Stallone began in a calm but authoritative voice. "I'm Sylvester Stallone, the new owner of this dealership." A murmur rippled through the lobby. The employees froze, some covering their mouths with their hands, others widening their eyes. Brad felt his stomach clench. He instantly paled. "WH? What?" he stammered, unable to find the words. Stallone continues. "Yesterday, you expelled me for no good reason, without even knowing my identity. Today, I am here to correct that. But above all, I want everyone to understand the importance of respect and humility, regardless of a person's appearance or reputation." The employees looked down in embarrassment. Some remembered their behavior and understood the gravity of the situation. Brad, flushed with shame, tried to speak. I didn't know. I thought that." "I understand," Stallone said, raising a hand to calm him. "It's not just your fault. Many people are quick to judge without trying to understand. But here at Prestige Motors, we are always professional." He paused, looking everyone in the eye. "From today on, I want this dealership to become an example. Every customer, no matter who they are, must be treated with respect and consideration. Understand?" A murmur of affirmation rippled through the room. Brad, ashamed but aware that he had to learn, nodded slowly. "All right," Stallone added with a slight smile, "let's consider this experience a valuable lesson for all of us." That day, Prestige Motors was no longer just a luxury dealership. It became a place where respect, dignity, and integrity were as precious as the cars on display. After the confrontation, Sylvester Stallone didn't just correct the misunderstanding. He knew that mere words wouldn't be enough to change his staff's attitude. He wanted to establish a true culture of respect and professionalism at Prestige Motors. The next morning, he called a meeting with all the staff in the dealership's vast lobby. The employees, still reeling from the previous day's revelation, sat quietly. Stallone entered, dressed in an impeccable suit, his charisma filling the room. "Thank you all for coming," he began. "Yesterday, I discovered some flaws in our department. But I also see incredible potential here. I didn't come to punish, but to teach and improve our work together." He then explained several initiatives. 1. Training programs. Each employee would follow workshops on customer service, empathy, and communication. The objective was to understand the needs of customers, even the most demanding, without judgment. 2. Internal mentoring. The most employees' experienced ones would guide the new ones to reinforce the good ones' practices and create a strong team spirit. 3. Regular assessment. Every week, Stallone would observe staff incognito to assess quality of the service and recognize exemplary behavior. Brad Thompson listened, sheepish but attentive. He understood that his impulsive authority would no longer suffice and that the time for hasty decisions was over. Stallone added, in a calm but firm voice. "We all have something to learn. Respect and dignity aren't just for famous or important clients, but for every person who walks through our doors. If we want Prestige Motors to be the best, we must demonstrate it in every interaction. The employees nodded, some with shy smiles, others with newfound determination. Stallone knew the transformation wouldn't be immediate, but he was willing to invest the time necessary to make his dealership a model of professionalism and respect. That day marked the beginning of a new era at Prestige Motors, where fame and power were used to inspire rather than intimidate, and where every employee understood that their behavior could reflect on the entire company. A few days after the meeting, the atmosphere at Prestige Motors had already begun to change. Employees were more attentive, smiling, and took the time to listen to customers rather than judge them. The impact of Stallone's new directives was felt in every corner of the dealership. However, manager Brad Thompson couldn't help but think back to his mistake the day before. The humiliation of having evicted the owner, especially someone famous and respected, weighed heavily on his conscience. Every time a customer came in and was treated with care by the staff, he was reminded that he had almost jeopardized the dealership's entire reputation with his arrogance. Customers, for their part, began to notice the change. Positive feedback poured in, with some even sharing their experience on social media, praising the impeccable service and courteous staff. Prestige Motors quickly earned a reputation for excellence that surpassed that of any other dealership in the city. One morning, a local reporter showed up to interview Stallone. Curious about the dealership's sudden success, he asked, "Mr. Stallone, how do you explain this rapid change in the behavior of your employees?" Stallone smiled slightly, a mixture of pride and mischief in his eyes. "Sometimes all it takes is a lesson learned. We all tend to judge before we know, and this experience has shown me that respect and humility are essential in any profession." Meanwhile, Brad, who was watching the interview remotely, felt a pang of shame mixed with admiration. He understood that his impulsive behavior had nearly destroyed the dealership's image, but that Stallone's lesson had saved the day and even profoundly transformed the work culture. That day, Brad made a silent decision. He was going to change, not out of fear, but because he finally understood the value of respect and integrity in all his interactions. Prestige Motors was no longer just a car dealership, it had become a symbol of professionalism and excellence, where even the most serious mistakes could be transformed into learning opportunities. A few days after the fallout from his confrontation with Brad, Sylvester Stallone officially launched training programs at Prestige Motors. He wanted every employee to understand that professionalism and respect were not just words, but daily practices. The dealership's lobby had been transformed to accommodate the workshops. Tables with brochures, explanatory charts, and sales simulators were set up. The employees, initially hesitant, took their seats, intrigued by this unique program. Stallone stood before them, smiling. "Welcome to this first training session. We'll learn how to understand our customers, anticipate their needs, and treat every interaction with respect and care. What you learn here will not only benefit your work, but also your personal development." The program included several modules. 1. Effective communication, how to listen attentively and respond without judgment. 2. Managing difficult situations, learn to stay calm and professional in the face of impatience or a customer's aggression. 3. Empathy and understanding, get to the customer place to offer a truly personalized service. 4. Observation and return, how to rate the mistakes, learn from experiences and improve constantly. Brad Thompson, sitting in the front row, frantically took notes. For the first time, he realized that his arrogance could be corrected through education and self-discipline. As the weeks went by, Stallone observed his employees incognito. He noted their progress, congratulated those who showed improvement, and offered personalized advice to those who needed it. Customers began to notice the difference. The staff was more attentive, polite, and knowledgeable. Even Brad, transformed by this training, began to demonstrate true leadership based on respect and patience, rather than fear and brute authority. The incidents of the previous day already seemed distant, replaced by a new, positive work culture. Prestige Motors was no longer just a luxury car showroom, it had become a living example of transformation and professional excellence. And Stallone, as a quiet observer and demanding mentor, knew that true success came from this harmony of power, respect, and work ethic. A few weeks after the training programs were implemented, the results at Prestige Motors were visible and impressive. The staff, transformed by the workshops and Stallone's observations, now provided impeccable service. Every customer felt valued, listened to, and respected, whether they were famous or ordinary. The news spread quickly throughout the city. Social media began to post testimonials, videos of amazed customers, comments on the courtesy and professionalism of the staff, and articles in local newspapers praising the dealership for its exemplary service. One morning, a local journalist, Lisa Harper, showed up at the dealership for an exclusive interview. "Mr. Stallone," she said, greeting him, "how do you explain this rapid transformation?" Stallone smiled, his eyes shining with quiet satisfaction. "It's not just me. It's the team's hard work. Yesterday, they could have made a mistake like kicking a customer out of mistake. Today, they're showing that with respect and discipline, you can turn every interaction into a positive experience." Meanwhile, Brad Thompson watched silently. He felt a mixture of shame and pride. Shame for his initial mistake, but pride in the progress he now saw in his team and in himself. He understood that true leadership came not from fear, but from example and mutual respect. New customers began to arrive, some simply coming to see the difference. Sales grew rapidly, but more importantly, the dealership had earned a reputation for reliability and excellence. Even his competitors noticed the change and envied the way Stallone had transformed Prestige Motors. What had started as a simple misunderstanding with a customer had transformed into a model of professionalism, inspiring the entire local community. This chapter in the dealership's life marked a milestone. Humility, discipline, and respect could create not only satisfied customers, but also a united and motivated team. Stallone had managed to turn a negative experience into a lasting triumph. With Prestige Motors' reputation firmly established, Sylvester Stallone decided to take the next step, strengthening the culture of excellence and respect for the long term. He understood that training alone was not enough, and that staff needed to be motivated to maintain these high standards. He launched two major initiatives, the mentoring program and the incentive system. 1. The mentoring program. Each experienced employee was now responsible for guiding one or several more recent colleagues. The objective was to transmit not only technical skills, but also the attitude and way of interacting with each customer. Mentors were encouraged to share their experiences and help their charges overcome challenges calmly and professionalism. 2. The incentive system. Stallone set up a system rewarding excellence and the initiative. The most customer-friendly employees, the more courteous and those who showed notable improvement received bonuses, extra days off or advanced training opportunities. The idea was simple: reward good behavior and encourage everyone to improve constantly. Brad Thompson, sitting in the front row at the announcement, felt a mixture of excitement and responsibility. He knew that this time, he had to lead by example and not rely on his authority. For the first time in a long time, he felt truly motivated by collective success rather than fear or hierarchy. In the following weeks, Stallone observed the immediate effects. The mentors actively guided their protégés, tactfully correcting mistakes and encouraging progress. The employees now took pride in their work and went above and beyond to provide the best possible service. Customers noticed instantly. The welcome was warm, the attention attentive, and every interaction personalized. Prestige Motors was no longer just a place to sell luxury cars, it had become a model of professionalism and ethics. Stallone smiled as he saw the growing harmony within the team. He knew that once respect and excellence were ingrained in the company culture, even past mistakes like Brad's could become lasting, positive lessons. Within months of implementing the training and mentoring programs, Prestige Motors had earned an impeccable reputation. But Sylvester Stallone knew that a team's true value was revealed in moments of pressure, when difficult choices tested their integrity and loyalty. One afternoon, a particularly demanding customer entered the dealership. He was arrogant, impatient, and openly critical of the staff, putting to the test the new standards established by Stallone. "I want this car exactly as I say, or I'm leaving," he said, his voice echoing through the hall. Brad Thompson, watching the scene, felt his old impulsiveness return. But he immediately remembered Stallone's lessons. Instead of giving in to impatience, he signaled one of his mentors to intervene. "Sir," the employee replied calmly, "we understand your requirements. Allow me to explain how we can meet your needs while ensuring the best possible quality." The client tried to raise their voice, but the team remained firm and polite, applying all the techniques learned in the training: active listening, patience, empathy, and clear answers. Brad, impressed, realized that the change was profound and lasting. After a tense moment, the customer, surprised by the team's patience and professionalism, calmed down and began to cooperate. Not only did he purchase the vehicle, but he also left the dealership praising the exceptional quality of the service. Later, Brad turned to Stallone. "I must admit," he said humbly, "that I never thought we could handle this kind of situation so effectively." Stallone smiles. True success isn't measured by how well things are going. It's revealed when your team stays true to its principles, even in the face of pressure. And today, you all proved that Prestige Motors is more than just a dealership, it's a place where integrity and respect reign. That day marked a definitive turning point. The employees had not only embraced Stallone's culture, but had embodied it, demonstrating that even the most difficult situations could be handled with dignity and professionalism. Prestige Motors was no longer just a place to sell luxury cars, it had become a living example of effective leadership and positive transformation. A few months had passed since the initial incident. Prestige Motors was now known throughout the city for its exemplary service and close-knit team. Customers returned, some simply to congratulate the staff, others to purchase their vehicles with the assurance of impeccable service. Sylvester Stallone stood in the lobby, watching his team at work. Every employee, from the oldest to the newest, embodied the values he had sought to instill: respect, professionalism, patience, and integrity. Even Brad Thompson, the once arrogant manager, now led with leadership based on example and collaboration. Stallone reflected on the initial lesson, how a simple misunderstanding could become an opportunity for transformation. He smiled inwardly, satisfied that his approach had not only changed the work culture, but had also inspired every member of the team to be better. "You see," he said during an informal meeting with staff, "success isn't measured solely by sales or profits. It's measured by how you treat people and how you stay true to your values. Yesterday, you faced every challenge with integrity, and that's what makes Prestige Motors unique." The employees, moved and grateful, applauded. This moment symbolized the end of a transformation process and the beginning of a new era where every customer, every interaction, and every decision reflected Stallone's vision. The dealership was now a model for other businesses in the city, a place where arrogance could be transformed into humility, where mistakes became lessons, and where respect and excellence defined every action. Stallone left the room with a satisfied smile, leaving behind not only a professional and inspired team, but also a lasting legacy, that of a place where power and celebrity could be used to teach essential human values. And so, Prestige Motors was no longer just a car dealership. It was a symbol of transformation, enlightened leadership, and the power of mutual respect, a living example that even the most serious mistakes could be transformed into lasting triumph.